What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about DayZ standalone. I'm going to be giving you guys my advanced and basic tips in this video. So if you're a brand new player, or maybe you've been playing since the day the standalone came out, these tips could all be useful for you. What I'm going to cover is everything from ripping your shirt to stop bleeding, all the way up to different foods you should eat, like cereal dehydrating you, and rotten fruit. Everything will be covered in between there, all the way from advanced to basic. So stay tuned. We're going to break all those down. I do want to also remind you though, if you are brand new to DayZ standalone and you're not even sure how to open your inventory, check out the link in the description. That is my 10-minute video on the controls in the game. I actually go pretty in depth in it, so even if you aren't new to the game, it could help you out as well. I cover everything from moving, opening your inventory, all the way to actually increasing your field of view as you run, staying permanently zoomed in instead of just right clicking to zoom in, everything in between there as well. So check that out, link in the description for a very in-depth guide on controls in the game. So with all of that out of the way, guys, let's dive into some of the basics for surviving in DayZ standalone. So first thing, big focus for you when you jump in the game, you're going to notice you are thirsty right away. That little thirsty icon pops up and you know you need to be drinking water right away and get some food in you as well once you get in the game. So focus on getting food and water, focus on nothing else but that right when you get in the game. That's going to be really important to you. So don't worry about weapons right away. If you see them, that's great, but don't be like, oh man, I need to have an M6 or an M4 or a rifle or anything like that right away. Focus on first getting food and water, because at the end of the day, your rifle may be great, you may be able to kill zombies or other players, but it's not going to save you from being dehydrated or starving to death in the game. And that would really suck, to have like the best rifle in the game and then realize, oh man, I skipped all this food and water along the way because I was rushing to an airfield or something like that in order to pick up a cool weapon. So right away, focus on food and water, and don't worry about the weapons till later on once you're set up with all your food and water for your character. So when you start scavenging in the game, you obviously first off want to be in a daytime server. If you're new to the game and you're like, man, why are all these servers nighttime? One thing you can do is go ahead and look at servers with a little bit higher ping. A lot of those servers are going to be further away from you. So let's say you're playing at 9 p.m. You're going to be looking for, maybe a server that's in like California if you live in Florida, or vice versa, right? You're looking for different time zones, because how it works is the servers are based on the time zone of that server. So if you're playing in a server in Illinois and it's 7 p.m. in Illinois, it may be starting to get dark in the game. If it's midnight, it's going to be midnight in the game, and it's really hard to play at night. So what you want to do is look for daytime servers. Last night, I think I was playing on like a server in Korea or something like that, because I was playing at 2 in the morning and it was dark in the game in Illinois. So I didn't want to deal with that. I ended up playing with a server further away that it was daytime in. So focus on food and water, and definitely make sure you're in the daytime. Those are two big tips. So moving on to some more actual tangible tips besides focus on food and water and play at daytime. The first thing is, if you ever get an engagement with a zombie before you have a weapon, which you probably will get in some engagement with a zombie before you have a weapon, first thing is aim for the zombie's face, right? You can actually punch a zombie in the face, it'll knock him out, and then you can run away from the zombie and not have to worry about, oh man, I gotta punch a zombie till it dies, and then oftentimes you end up dying in the process, or you lose too much blood and the game becomes too hard and you got to reset yourself. Additionally, if you do end up punching the zombie in the face, he bites you once or he cuts you once and you're bleeding and you get away, go ahead and rip your shirt up, and you can actually use that to cover up your bandage or repair your wounds, and it'll stop the bleeding. You actually, I think, get two rags out of it, so you can use it twice. You just can't use it twice in a row. Sometimes the game just won't let you use it twice in a row. Your end game, it'll say my clothes are warm with blood or whatever, and if that happens, you're pretty much screwed unless you can get to a hospital. So repair yourself up and try not to get in any other engagement with zombies for a little while, but do know that you should be able to get 2 rags out of each shirt. And then obviously if you see a shirt along the way, go ahead and pick it up, put it on, or even store shirts in your bag and rip them up. That way you have a lot of bandages on you all the time. Extra shirts are often found all throughout the game, so keep those on you and pick them up even if you have a shirt on already, because you do end up needing those rags throughout the game. Then the next big tip I'm going to give is something that people really don't know in the game, and you really won't know unless you find out from a video like this, is eat even if you're not hungry, and and drink even if you're not thirsty. So in the game, a very good analogy for what happens is the game will tell you when you have your emergency fuel light on. So when when it says I'm thirsty, when it says I'm hungry, it's like driving a car, and when that light starts flashing that you need to get more gas in your car, that's kind of the point you're in the game, right? If you don't get food or water soon, you're gonna die, right? Your car's not gonna work anymore. Similarly, your character in the game is not gonna be alive anymore. It's just going to die, or it's gonna starve or be dehydrated, and things aren't gonna go well. So with that said, similar to a car, there's a long process before you get to that emergency fuel light. So you may be running around and have yourself at halfway full or 100% full, and really you just want to keep getting food and water in your character before you get to the emergency fuel light, and you need like 16 bottles of water before you're at normal again. So whenever you find food, whenever you find water, drink and eat right then. That way you don't have to worry about it when you're in a fight with a zombie or hanging out with friends and you're in a firefight and it says, oh, I'm thirsty, and you end up in a 20-minute firefight and don't have time to drink and you die from that. That'd be terrible. So make sure you're drinking water, eating food. When you know you're full, your character will say like, oh, my belly's full, or I'm good, or whatever it is. It'll tell you in the bottom left, and that's not likely to happen. But do know if you keep drinking and eating, it's not going to like cancel out. You're not going to overeat in the game. It'll just mean there's a longer period of time before you get that emergency fuel light. So always be eating and drinking, even if it doesn't say to. So the next tip I have for you guys is kind of 2 tips in one. First thing being, figure out where you've spawned and find the well in the area that you spawn. Now you may be wondering, what is this well and what does it actually do for me? As I've said before, and as I just said, that emergency fuel light will be on right when you spawn, so finding one of these wells is going to be very key. Now you already know, I'm sure, that you're going to be looking for water bottles, soda cans, things like that to make you hydrated in the game, but actually the easiest way to become hydrated is just find one of these wells, because it has unlimited water. You can actually just sit there and drink and drink and drink until your character's stomach is full. Now what you need to do is just walk up to one of the wells and use your middle mouse button and click, and then just keep clicking that. In the bottom left, it'll say you've drank out of a pond or something similar to that. And then eventually your character will say, my stomach is full. Now when he says my stomach is full, stop clicking the button, because if you keep clicking, you'll quickly notice that you've thrown up, and then you'll be dehydrated and hungry again because your stomach's going to be empty. So as soon as your character says my stomach is full, you're perfectly fine and stop drinking. Another key thing, and part of this 2-part tip, is check the link in the description for a map. This map is going to be a DayZ map that will not only help you find out where you've spawned, but it'll also help you find wells, airfields, things like that. The trick to using the map is just look where you are in the game. So if you see a sign that says Cherno is 2 miles to the left, you know 2 miles to the right of Cherno is where you are. So look on the map, see where Cherno is, look to the left or right, and base that off of the signs you see. You may also just see signs for wherever you are. So if you're in Electro or something like that, and the sign says Electro, then you know that's where you are, and then you can look on the map and say, oh look, north of me is this airfield, and just stay along the roads and you'll find the airfield. All the roads seem to lead places, so just look and figure out where you are. It's really simple to navigate. It's just like a real world map. Once you know where you are, it's really easy to figure out where you're going. Just also note, anytime you see big cities or you're exploring, you should notice a well in the cities. So figure out where the well is, fill up your stomach, fill up your water bottles, and really hydration is not the issue in this game. A lot of times it becomes food, because these unlimited water supplies are all over the game, whereas food is not. You actually have to go ahead and hunt through houses to find your canned tuna, your powdered milk, whatever it is. So figure out where those are, the wells, very important, and also check the link in the description, pop open the map, and use that while you're playing in the game to figure out where you are and explore different areas. Now, one big thing that many DayZ players don't know about, especially if you played previous mods of DayZ and the Arma mod, is actually cars can be looted now. So if you're running along a road and you see a cluster of broken down cars, always check those out, because that is a great place to find a lot of really good loot in a really small area. So you may find 4 or 5 really great items without having to search an entire building. The cars are really great place to find loot, so always check those out and see if you can find anything in or near the cars that are broken down along your runs to different towns, or even in towns. There are broken down cars all over the place. Another thing that's kind of important is if you find a baseball bat and some nails, do know things like that can be combined. So a baseball bat and nails combined becomes a whole different beast, right? It does a lot more damage. It's a lot more scary. So overall, just know that weapons can be upgraded. Similarly with rifles and things like that, you can get different scopes. Baseball bat, nails is a good thing. So just keep in mind as you scavenge, try to see what weapons you can combine, and you can really make some pretty cool stuff. Now, some things I really didn't cover that I want to, and definitely will right here, is stuff like rotten fruit, right? Rotten fruit is really a last resort. You may be eating rotten fruit throughout the game and realize, oh, nothing's happened. And then, you know, later on in the game, you're rocking an M4 or M16 or, you know, rifle or whatever gun. You're all loaded out. You got the gas mask. You got everything you want. And then you're eating rotten fruit, and then you realize, oh, that's weird. I'm sick. And then 20 minutes later, you end up dead because you've been eating all this rotten fruit. Just know rotten fruit is a last resort. So maybe pick up like a rotten banana, put it in your bag, and don't pick up any other rotten fruit because it's really pointless because you're likely gonna die. The only time I eat rotten fruit is if I'm so low on health, or I'm so hungry I think I'm gonna die in the game. Then I might eat some rotten fruit and get sick, but at least I'm going to prolong the death or maybe stop it. But ideally, you just don't want to be eating rotten fruit unless you absolutely have to. Now, with that said, you may be finding canned beans and things like that along the way. The best source of food is going to be that canned food. Now, do know you're going to need a can opener kit to get inside of these, but you can actually use other things as well. They're just not going to have as much of a yield. A can opener is going to give you 100% yield, so you open it with a can, you can eat all the beans. If you open it with like an axe, for instance, your yield may be like 50%, so like half your beans got wasted. You can also open it with a screwdriver and really any sharp object. Just know those sharp objects that aren't can openers may not give you as much food out of the same food source. So you're going to be wanting to find a can opener. If you find a can opener, that is awesome. But if you have a sharp object, anything from like a screwdriver to an axe, in between their knives, different things like that, they all will open cans, and that's going to be your best source of food. Now, the last thing I want to talk about food-wise is going to be cereal. A lot of times you'll find cereal in supermarkets. Just know that cereal dehydrates you, so if you don't have any water on you and you're not hungry, don't eat the cereal yet. Make sure you find some water, fill up your water bottle, whatever it is, and then eat your cereal so you can have that, you know, eat your cereal, drink some water so you don't get dehydrated from it. The game is actually pretty realistic. You know, if you ever get dry mouth from eating just raw cereal without milk, similar thing happens in the game, whereas if your character's eating cereal, he's going to get thirsty and dehydrated. So just know if you're eating cereal, you need to be drinking water as well. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is searching buildings. I'm sure you have noticed it by now, but many of the buildings in DayZ you can actually go inside of. I would say like 80 to 90% of the buildings you can actually go inside and search, which is awesome. But there are some buildings you can't go inside of. Now, you don't have to run up to the building and check every door to make sure. What you can actually do is just look in the windows. The buildings with grayed out windows you actually cannot go inside of, and that's for every building. Now, if you can see inside the building through the cracked windows, or if the windows are glass and you can see inside of it, that means you can get inside. So go ahead and check the doors. Some of the doors may not be openable, but there should be a door somewhere on the building that you can go inside of, which will allow you to get in. So just keep in mind, you can actually look from a distance and you can look at the building and see if the glass is a gray color, which means you can't go inside of. If you can see inside the glass and it's broken, that means you can actually go inside the building. So keep that in mind. Don't worry about checking every single door. Just look at the glass first, and then you'll know if you can get inside the building. Now, kind of the last thing here, this isn't really a super important tip, but something I learned a few days ago is F1 through F4 have things that happen, right? So you can flip people off, you can put your hands up to surrender, things like that that are going to be helpful in the game. So let's say you run into two guys with weapons and you're like, oh man, they're going to kill me. Just immediately hit your F3 or 2 or 1 or 4, whatever it is, to put your hands up, right? So go ahead and put your hands up, say you surrender, and maybe they'll spare you. Things like that could be helpful in the game. So just keep in mind, click F1 through F4 and learn what each button does. It can definitely help you out throughout the game. And really it is a good thing, especially if you're putting your hands up. It's kind of that mental thing of, okay, they surrendered, I'm not going to kill that person, and it may actually end up saving your life in the game. Now, I want to conclude this with saying, guys, this is an alpha game right now, so all these things don't always work all the time. Rotten fruit may get you sick, may not get you sick. All these things may be fixed and changed by the time the game comes out. There are issues in the game. As you can see on screen now, I got spawned in this weird building after playing for about a half an hour. I had to go ahead and let myself die because there was just nothing I could do, right? I was just spawned in this building and an area I wasn't supposed to be in, somehow just ended up inside of it and could not get out. So there are issues in the game. It is an alpha, so don't be too upset if you end up dying. You are playing an alpha version of a game. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please toss a thumbs up and a favorite, and in the comment section below, tell me any tips you think I missed. I'd love to learn some new things about the game. I'm always trying to learn. Also note, this week we do have some more DayZ stuff coming. I plan to be playing some different things within DayZ, and hopefully playing with some of you guys as well. So thanks for watching. Till next time, peace, and here's the outro.